All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of our live stream SEO Explained with CJ Kortes. I'm CJ Kortes. I am the CEO of the SEO Contractor. And in this live stream, I love to just talk about a topic and then just kind of freestyle on that and my thoughts about it. Today, we're going to talk about your location and how a bad location can equal bad leads. So today's topic, I want you to think specifically if you are a service industry company. So if you're a company that services a local area, then this is in particular for you, not necessarily an e-commerce, but a service company who's servicing a local territory, primarily within the US, is what I'll be speaking on. So let's talk about your location. Your location, your address, your physical location should be considered SEO and not independent of it. What I mean by that is when you go to Google in particular and you do a search, you're going to get some options for local companies. You're going to get some ads at the top. The very next thing is you're going to get a map listing with local services on the map. And then you're going to get the organic results below. This is in particular for a local service company. Search results show differently depending on the intent of the search, the type of industries and businesses being searched for. So for local service companies, you get ads, you get a map, and you get organic rankings for the most part. So what we've noticed is how important the map is. So local service companies, when they're considering their address and their location or locations, that should be considered a part of your SEO strategy. Don't think about it separately. I've had many customers who've had great leads come in through their map, and then they tell me, "Hey, I just got this office outside of town. It's cheap, because it's in the middle of nowhere." And then now their address changes and all their listings and their maps, all their leads go away. So by the term good address, good leads, bad location, bad leads, that's what I mean. You have a location in an area that's not being highly searched, then your location's not going to be found as well as if it was an area that is highly searched. It's as simple as that. Okay, so with that being the case, let's talk about the upcoming topics. I'm going to talk about how your address is a marketing tool and how the map pulls in high volume, and then how you should plan your service area locations properly around these addresses. So let's think about it like this. Most companies who are a service company of a local area have an office. A lot of times it's out of their house, or it's a headquarters where they have some of their vehicles. And a lot of times that's outside of town because it is more affordable. Now, there's plenty of service companies when you're talking about like physicians, dentists, these kind of personal services. And it still would benefit them as well to have an address in a high trafficked area as opposed to outside of town in the middle of nowhere. But at the same time, I'm speaking really for the most part about service companies that don't typically have a address right on Main Street or a store that's right there front and center for retail to people to come in. Because a lot of times these service companies, they go out of their office to service. They're not servicing from their location. Okay, their location becomes like a headquarters. It's why it's often is a home address. They still have enough service vehicles to go out and do the job needed, but they don't need the office space. They could have a big, steel building in on some land on their own home or whatever. And that's often the case. But Google still knows where this address is. So think about it like this. We've run hundreds of search engine SEO campaigns for companies over the years. And when we look at the results, we track them all via, listening to their phones and tracking their phone calls. So we know where everything comes from. And when we do this tracking, it's always the same. The Google local service ads, which are pay per call for the most part, they're local service ads called Google Guarantee. The Google Map address, the called Google My Business address, and the organic website rankings by far always have the highest volume and the highest conversion rates. They're the best quality of lead. Now, you do have pay per click, and then there's other forms of marketing out there and other social media channels and stuff. In particular, I'm talking about Google because they do have the highest market share, like 90% roughly. I made a post on my X account with the details of that percentage. Now, if the local service ads, the map, and the organic websites are pulling in the highest traffic and the quality leads, then you have to really consider the map being an SEO tool. Okay. So the map in itself becomes marketing. So your address is a marketing tool because it's pulling in high volume quality customers. Now, if you are a service company and you service a territory, you're in a city, but you service a greater amount of cities surrounding you, then your location and your traffic is going to pull in the most volume from where the location is and a surrounding area, half mile, mile, 2 miles, few miles. It's a little different depending on the size of the city. So let's look at a big metroplex like a Dallas or Fort Worth. If someone types, electrician in Dallas, well, the map's going to go to Dallas and show most of the city of Dallas, which is a pretty larger territory. And then you're going to have a bunch of, map listings within that. Now, you're not going to see all the sub-cities surrounding Dallas on that list for the most part. Now, you can zoom in and out and find people, but remember, Google is only showing you 3 on the top spot. And then you have to click to see more, or you can zoom in and out of the map to see more. So if you're in a smaller city, let's pick another city around Dallas, like a north of Dallas is like a Plano. It's smaller than Dallas, but bigger than a lot of cities. So if you hit Plano electrician, it's going to zoom into the Plano area, and you're going to see all the addresses on there. And then you go further up north. Prosper is a smaller city, a really small city when it comes to the population in comparison to Dallas and Plano. Now, think about this for all cities around the U.S. as well, because every city around the U.S. is going to have a metroplex with some larger cities, and then some smaller ones as you get, typically out of that metroplex area. So when a customer is in an area doing a search, the map's going to go to that area and it's going to show the addresses right there. Now, if you work out of the house, or if you don't have an address showing, your map's still going to show, and it's going to show in that area too. Google knows where your address is, even if you're not displaying it. It's going to show roughly, in that, not roughly, but in that area. So if you are someone who, again, let's look at Dallas, and you're way north of Dallas, but you in a small city, but you service the surrounding larger cities, and your address is in that small city, well, the chances of you getting traffic to your map from the larger surrounding cities is going to be very slim. You're going to show mostly for the area that you are in. Google's going to look at a couple of things. They're going to look at what's the industry of your map location, what's the location of the location, and then what is the reviews, and amongst other data as well. That's not the only thing they look at, but those are some key factors they look at. So if you are looking for an electrician in Prosper, which is a small city north of Dallas, you say electrician Prosper, boom, it's going to go right to Prosper. It's going to pull up all the people who have electrician as their industry selected, as well as services selected. And then it's going to start pulling up the people that are closest to the searcher and with the highest reviews. So what a lot of companies do is they just pick their location based off, price of how much I can, get that office space, or that shed, or not shed, but steel building, or they work out of their house, and they don't even consider the fact that one of their highest, potential lead volumes is their map. So let's talk about the map pulling in high volume, right? So with the topic of the map and its high volume, this is why, I like to mention the importance of the location, because the map has become one of these lead drivers that is sending in high volumes of leads to a website or to a phone, and they're quality leads. So before these maps and before, local service ads, which are not pay per click, it was a lot of pay per click and Google organic rankings. But now these maps came out, and we all know it because we all go to Google. Some of us even have the Google Map app on our phone, not just Google. And again, I'm sticking on Google because of the market share. There are maps on Bing as well that pull in and stuff. So maps are still important, not just Google. But let's think about Google here. How often do you go to your phone, do a search, and then you scroll down and you stop at the map and you see the top three people and you start clicking reviews? That's why the map got so popular. I want to, I don't remember the history, so don't quote me on this, but I remember Yelp came out and Yelp was huge and it was all about reviews. And obviously, Yelp's still big. But I want to say that the Google Map and the reviews at that point, it was called Google Places when Google Maps first came out. It was Google Places, it's changed names over the years. Um, I want to say Yelp really was in that space first, if I'm not mistaken. And they really started that review game. And then Google, whether they had places before Yelp or not, I just can't remember off the top of my head, started really realizing the importance of these reviews through Yelp. And again, I'm not looking at a history or a timeline, so don't quote me on the exactness of this. But just looking back, I remember Yelp being such a thing, and then now Google has really turned into the review source. Um, well, because businesses, first off, don't have to pay Google to get these, whereas a lot of businesses on Yelp do have to pay for Yelp. Um, so Google itself is all about reviews. And how many times have you gone, done a search in your area, found a local expert or company, and checked their reviews right away, read them, made sure they had, high ratings, read what people said. And this is why the map is so captivating and produces such a quality, because people have done their homework by the time they hit the call button or hit the view website and continue to do a little more trusting before they reach out. So if you're a business, then you want to generate leads from all kinds of sources. You want to generate them from your social media, from your in community efforts, on the ground efforts, from your vehicle wraps driving by, from signage, from people doing searches and clicking ads that you've got running, people doing searches and finding your map and reviews that you have, people doing searches and finding your website, your billboards, radio advertisement that's going to brand you. You want to be in all these spots. But if you are a local business, you also want to think territorially. So that's the map pulling in high volume. So let's think planning your service area locations based off territory. You might be an electrician or a plumber or whatever service this is that you offer, and you might be in a small town, but you service the big town next door, and you'll even go an hour and a half away, possibly. Some people like to stay really close. Some people go far. And whatever it is that your company does, you service some form of territory. So if we know that the local service ads, the map, and the organic are pulling in some of the highest volumes and the highest quality, well, whatever territory it is you service, you want to be in all those spots within that territory. So again, we'll go back to Dallas. If you're in the little city outside of Dallas Prosper, which is a really fast growing city, so don't get me wrong, it's not so little. It is growing, but it's little in comparison to cities below it, Plano and Dallas, right? So you've got an address there, it's out of your house or whatnot, or small office space, and you're getting traffic. People search electrician or whatever it is they search in Prosper. You're on the map. Hopefully, you're running ads and you got your website there as well. But what about that Plano traffic? What about even further down, that Dallas traffic? What are you really hoping to get there? Are you hoping to go east or west as well, not just south? Are you hoping to go north? So you really got to plan your territories and start thinking, okay, let's say I'm in Prosper and I have an address and I'm doing ads and stuff. Now I want to be in Dallas. Well, um, what's that look like? Because I can pay for ads and be in the ad spot in Google, and then I can get my website ranked in the organic spot. But what about that third map listing that we know drives high volume? How am I going to get my Prosper location there? Well, I'm going to want to consider my address as a marketing tool. And I start thinking, why don't I get an office space in Dallas? I don't have to get rid of my address in Prosper. I can have multiple addresses because I put in my marketing budget X amount of money per month that goes to marketing. And if that's $1,000, $1,500, $2,500, and I look and say, hey, Dallas is a huge target. If I find a small space, this will be my dispatch office, right? So, I only need a desk and a phone number, and I can dispatch from here. Now, Google has restrictions, so don't jump right into anything I say automatically without thinking it through clearly. Your office and your address has to be a physical location where you can receive mail, where you can have a locked door, where you can have signage, where you can have a video that you make to Google to say, look, I'm standing outside of my office. I'm looking left and right. I'm unlocking the door. I've got a suite number. I've got my own address. I've got my own signage. Whether you choose to physically work out of it every day or not is up to you, but you should be able to work out of it if you could. I mean, like, not saying you have to, but it needs to exist so that if you did put someone in there, it could be worked out of. It has to be a real office space. In other words, it has to be a real space for you to be able to conduct business. Even if you do forward the number, you don't have to conduct business there, but it needs to be a real space that could conduct business. And the idea now is that you can get a location in this territory that you're servicing. So if someone searches for electrician in Dallas, well, now you're in the paid, your map is up, and your website's up. Now, it's not so cut and dry to get your map up. Obviously, when you create a new location in a new area, you're going to have to set it up, get it verified. But you're going to have to start getting reviews to it, because Google's not going to put you in that top 3 spot with no reviews. You're going to need to get traffic to it. You need to get reviews to it. And this is going to show Google strength over time that this location is actually worth putting at the top over the other guy. If the other guy's got more reviews, and then it just makes more sense to put the other guy up. So it's not just going to be some overnight success, but at the same time, it's never going to exist in the location you're targeting, in the area territory you're targeting, without some form of address or location. So you want to consider it a marketing piece. You want to implement it, but also think about this. Let's say I'll just keep going on this electrician concept, but let's just say you are the electrician who services, these multiple cities. When you get work done, when you do work, I mean, in this Dallas area, then you're going to want to drive those Dallas customers to your Dallas map to leave a review there. When you're in the Prosper territory, you're going to want to drive the customers to the Prosper map to get reviews there. So in all reality, you are servicing a territory. You have a location that could be worked out of, or is worked out of, in that territory, and then the customers that you do service in there, you're driving back to get reviews to that same map. It's no different, really, if you think about it, than like locations like Target or Walmart. There's a Target and a Walmart in every city. The people who go to that Target and that Walmart in that city are typically from around there, or they're passing through, or they're driving from other towns, but whatever, they're going there and they're leaving a review for that location. So it's just not a physical location that people walk in to get service. It's a location in an area where you're going to them to service, but then you're sending them back to that map to leave you a review so that they can say, hey, this company services me in this area and they did a great job. And the more that you get reviews on that map, Google knows that those reviews are people from that area, and Google will show your map to people in that area. It's a simple concept. It doesn't mean that you should probably run out today and go buy 20 addresses in each city around you. I'm not saying do that, but I am saying that you should really plan your targeted service area around a marketing concept. So if you say, hey, I service all of these locations, start thinking, okay, how am I going to apply my marketing budget? Am I just going to do some blanket, pay-per-click budget to this entire area, or blanket radio, TV ad to this entire area? Or am I going to start looking at it territory by territory and figuring out how to maximize an area and spread from there. This is, you know, probably a really bad analogy, but if you were to take like a cancer tumor and the idea that it starts with one cell and spreads outwards and develops, same kind of concept would probably be a good idea for your target service area. Start with a location, maximize everything you can get in that area. Make sure that area you're on the map, you're in the paid area spot, your website's ranking organically. Now you're in the community, you're doing social media advertising to that area, you're doing display advertising to that area. You got a billboard on a couple parts of, at least one major road going in and out of that area. Now you're doing maybe direct mail to those homes. That territory is seeing you in all kinds of spots, upping your odds of being chosen because you are everywhere there. And then you apply that same thing to the next city over that you want to do. Say you're like, okay, this city's going good. I'm going to keep everything as is. Now I'm going over to that next one. And I'm going to start by getting an address. I'm going to start by getting some pay per click and some my organic website ranking. I'm going to start by joining some local chambers, maybe getting some kind of ground game going. Then as that grows, I might advance into some of these other forms of direct mail and radio and TV targeting, stuff like that. I mean, it's not so cut and dry. It's not the same recipe for every person, but it's this idea of your address has the ability to pull in high volumes of leads. So consider it. Don't just say, "Hey, I work out of my house, so that's about all I can do. I can't afford an office or whatever." But you don't necessarily need an office to work out of every day. And there are affordable options as long as it's not a co-working space, not a PO box. None of these things work. So be very careful. Make sure it's a real office with a real address, all those parameters. You can reach out to us and ask us questions if before you get started to make sure, send stuff in the comments or go to our website, reach out to us. We don't want anyone just running out there. I'm not just giving advice to just go run out there and just purchase the first thing that comes your way. Be very strategic, smart about it. Make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure it can be verified as an actual Google Map address. So if you're concerned or questioning on that, just reach out to us and we can help try to clear that up. But let me kind of recap. So your address is a marketing tool. The map pulls in high volume, and you should plan your targeted area around these locations. So the concept here moving forward is SEO, search engine optimization, shouldn't be just looked at as this term over off to the side. Oh, I've got an office, I've got a website, and then I'm paying someone to do SEO. That's often, how it's viewed because people don't really understand exactly what's the SEO mean. And I know it means I'm getting leads in Google, but there's a lot of different ways to get leads in Google. So when I consider SEO, outside of pay per click and paid advertising on Google, I'm considering those free tools that become organic for traffic. And the map and the website are the two main things that I consider for SEO personally. The website's something you don't have to pay Google for. The map is something you don't have to pay Google for. You set these tools up and then based on how you optimize them, they can rank and drive traffic based on specific searches in specific areas. So consider your address a marketing tool that you put into your marketing budget. And you don't have to just have one, you can have multiple if you plan it right. Consider this for the reason that the map has the ability to pull in the high volume. So if the map can pull in high volume, obviously it needs to be in a high volume area. So think about the part of town that's closest to your customers. Think about the town where it has the most customers. Don't go out in the middle of nowhere if you're trying to get a lot of traffic and there's no traffic out there. Sometimes it's not as important to save cost on the space as much as it is to have the space in an area that could drive more business. And then plan the full territory. Think about where you are now, where you service ultimately, and how you can attack that area. And then once you fulfill that, then think, then your company will obviously be in a good position to consider growth beyond that. Even maybe the territory you service for the next 5 years is not the territory you service, for the continued 10 years. As your business grows, you might decide, hey, I want to go regional. I'm franchising. I'm across the U.S. now. How am I going to approach that? Um, Very much the same way, just on a different scale. So I hope that helps. This is why I call it bad location, bad leads, because a lot of people don't think about their location as an actual marketing tool, unless you're like a Starbucks or a restaurant or something and you're trying to get on Main Street where everyone drives by. That's not what I'm talking about in this case. Marketing tool for online traffic, online drive by, online searches, being on the map, because that map has high volume. Okay, so hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope that helped answer any questions. And if you have any further questions, you can always go to the SEOcontractor.com, peruse our website, and send us a message through the site. You can also comment on the video or any social media, and we'll try our best to get answers back to you. If you really need the question answered, the website's definitely the best one because it comes right to our team who's getting you back. So thank you so much for your time.